So this video is going to do one of two things for you, right? It's either going to help you fix your current Instagram profile funnel if you're not getting results, if there's some kind of bottleneck. I'm going to help you identify, diagnose, and build a solution for that. Or it's just going to help you improve the current results that you're getting, right? If you are getting somewhat decent results. So you're going to fail with the Instagram profile funnel if you don't have the free systems or the free areas dialed in that I'm going to be walking you through throughout this video. So here's the reality behind IG profile ads, right? You can be running ads, getting a bunch of visits, but zero calls booked, zero engaged conversations with the people that are coming through, and ultimately zero sales, right? And you're not alone in this. I think that there are a lot of people out there pushing the Instagram profile funnel. I personally love it, right? And it works, but you have to have the right system. It is being sold as this pipe dream or magic fix that you can just run ads, people check your profile out and they book calls. But here's the one thing that no one's telling you. It's not automatically more superior than any other funnel, because it only works if you have these three specific stages that I'm going to be walking you through throughout this video, dialed in to a T perfectly. So in this video, you're going to learn the customer journey differences with the Instagram profile funnel versus the VSL funnel. 4 live examples of my clients who are crushing it. Stage 1, the invitation, your top of funnel positioning. Stage 2 is your landing page, the profile itself. Stage 3 is the post-follow journey, so the nurture and appointment setting process. The diagnostic test to know if you're ready or to understand which area of the 3 stages there you lack in or could improve in. A quick summary, and then your core 3 action items. So the Instagram profile funnel versus a traditional VSL. Let me start by killing a myth. The Instagram profile funnel is not inherently superior to a VSL funnel by default. I do prefer the Instagram profile funnel as a top of funnel strategy with the right type of clients, right? We have clients that I work with where we're just doing VSL ads, and it's because the offer is so easily scalable, and it's just, different types of offers require different funnels, and that's just I'll probably do a video on that eventually, but yeah, different types of offers require different types of funnels, but you can also combine different funnels together, right, to create a good customer journey. So with the VSL and the Instagram profile funnel, like, they're constantly kind of compared, right? They're just different. There's not one that's necessarily inherently better by default. They're just different, right? And it's only effective if you're willing to put the work in that most people skip regarding the Instagram profile ads. Here's what happens, right? Someone hears about profile visit ads. They see a guru posting about cheap profile visits and organic engagement. They think, oh, this sounds easier than building a VSL. So they set the ads up. They target their ideal audience, or so they think they're targeting their ideal audience. They drive traffic to that page, and then nothing. They get 200, maybe 500 profile visits, but no one books a call, no one DMs, and ultimately no one buys. So they think, oh, maybe I need better ads. So they change the creative, still nothing. Maybe I need more traffic. So they increase the budget, still nothing. Eventually, they give up and say the IG profile funnel doesn't work. So here's the truth about what actually works. The Instagram profile funnel works incredibly well when you have the right foundation. It's super easy to go wrong with this funnel, but it's also super easy to go right. You just need the right knowledge and know-how with regards to how to set this up effectively, right? We take my client Meg, for example. We launched Instagram profile visit ads. She's getting cost per appointment scheduled of £5.47. This is £5.47 she's paying to be having a conversation, sales conversation for a high ticket offer. And you can see here, the kind of messages she's getting. We're sending obviously videos and stuff out, nurturing the individuals that are coming through before they book a call. We're not just going straight from follower to cold to booking a call. And look, watch the video. Honestly, I can't wait to get started. You are inspiring. I look forward to the meeting next week, Friday. And we're booking around 10 calls per day at the moment, right? My client Sadie as well, she's been absolutely crushing it with Instagram visit ads. We've been doing this for a very long time, gained hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers. I think we started working with Sadie when she was around 400K followers. So nearly touching the million mark now. We're doing a couple of different strategies with my client Sadie, but point being, we've spent, I would say, on this ad account alone, that we have 3 ad accounts, 2 of which we run Instagram profile visit ads. We've probably spent around $60,000 to $80,000 on profile visit ads, and it's a core element of our top of funnel strategy, right? And that feeds into retargeting and middle of funnel, bottom of funnel campaigns that we're getting 8 to 10 return on investment from. So yeah, you can crush it if you have the right foundations, right? Even going back to my client Ella, during October for this client, we were able to book over 340 calls through Calendly, which was over double their previous period in the past 30 days before that. So that's 10 plus calls per day on a 10K offer. And she collected £216,000. The other day we booked 14 calls in a single day. You can see here, October 1st to 31st of October, £216 GBP cash collected. And that's not total deal value, right? We're doing a bunch of split pays, deposits, and all that sort of stuff. So this shit works. It can be super profitable, but you just need to have the right foundations in place, right? But VSLs are very different, right? A VSL funnel forces people through a very linear path. They watch the video, they see the pitch, they book a call, or they don't. It's simple, it's scalable. And if your VSL is good and the offer is right, it works, right? The conversion mechanism is built into this funnel already. It's very simple. You control the narrative from start to finish. They can't skip ahead. They can't browse randomly like they can in the Instagram profile funnel. And the variety of bottlenecks are very simple to identify because there's really only a couple of different stages the VSL funnel can go wrong. It's not as complex as the Instagram profile funnel. It's not to say it's better, it's just simpler, which is why people typically default to this method of client acquisition, right, or booking calls. So the Instagram profile funnel is actually a very unique journey. It's what I often refer to as the invitation strategy. You're not forcing someone to opt into your free training. You're inviting them to explore your world. So it's voluntary versus forcing them through a funnel with the VSL funnel, right? So to scroll through your content, to see what you're about, and then it's up to them to decide whether or not they want to follow you, DM, or book a call with you. This creates a lower friction at the entry point, which is great, but it also means that you lose some element of control with regards to that journey because you're allowing them to discover you based on their own accord, whether they want to or not. They click on whatever they want based on whether they want to or not, right? And there's not this linear click here, this is the next step, button here kind of path like there is with a VSL funnel. Now, obviously, we've figured out a way to kind of subconsciously, indirectly funnel people through an intentional journey that we've designed with the Instagram profile funnel. But I don't go through this in this video. I have talked about it in many other videos in the past. But yeah, they might watch with the Instagram profile visit funnel, they land on your profile, they might watch your most recent reel, then scroll back 3 weeks, then check your bio, then leave. Or they might only look at your highlights, or they might follow you and never engage again. So it's a little bit unpredictable if you don't have the right systems in place, right? And this is why the Instagram profile funnel requires 3 areas dialed in perfectly, or the whole system falls apart. You need to control the narrative through strategic content placement, positioning, and systematic nurture. So let me show you what those 3 stages are and how to dial in on each one of them. So stage number 1 is the invitation itself, right? Your top of funnel positioning. The first stage is what I call the invitation. This is your top of funnel strategy, your ads, your targeting, your positioning, your messaging, your CTA. This is where 90% of people fail before they even start. Because get this, if your top of funnel positioning and messaging isn't dialed in, it's not for the right person, and it's not attracting the right people, well, guess what? And imagine you're not even aware of this, right? You're going to get the follows. You might even have people come through, start a conversation with you and stuff, but they're the wrong prospect to begin with, right? So if your stage 1 top of funnel messaging, positioning isn't dialed in perfectly, isn't attracting the right type of people, everything else is going to suffer, right? And here's why this matters, because if your top of funnel is attracting the wrong person, everything else suffers. Like I mentioned, it all starts with the invitation. You could have the most optimized profile in the world, but if you're driving tire kickers and freebie seekers to it, you'll never convert them into high ticket clients. And most people think, I'll just run an ad that says, follow me for XYZ tips. They do some generic ad. That's not an invitation. That's a lazy call to action, and it attracts everyone. Tire kickers, freebie seekers, people with no money, people with no urgency, people who follow 500 business coaches but never buy from them because they're just in this endless cycle or loop of knowledge and information gathering, right? We all know those types of people on Instagram. Instead, you need to position your invitation ads to attract your dream follower, not just any follower, your dream follower, your ICP, right? The person who is financially qualified, problem aware, solution aware, and the person who actually wants to become a client. They're in the market for this type of service. And when kind of crafting these top of funnel angles and stuff, I always think back to the perception trifecta. I've spoke about this in a couple of other videos that I've recorded on the channel, but always think about what you say, how you say it, and where you say it, right? Whenever creating top of funnel content, consider the perception trifecta. You need to test at least 5 to 10 different ad variations, angles to see what resonates with your dream follower. Not just different images or videos, different angles, different psychological triggers, and different call to actions. So variation number 1 is a value-led introduction, right? This ad leads with specific insight or framework, and the call to action is very subtle. So for me, I could do an ad that's something like, I scaled a client from 40K to 173K in 28 days using a system that XYZ. If you want to see how this works, this video on my Instagram breaks it down, and maybe like a pop-up of the exact video where it is on my feed comes on. So I'm not saying like, go ahead and follow me, XYZ. I'm just saying like, this is what I've done. This is how I did it. And this is where you can learn more about how I did it, right? The person clicks through because they're genuinely curious about the insight, not because you've asked them to follow you, right? And that specific video doesn't just end there, right? It leads to a ManyChat workflow, which funnels them into a YouTube playlist. And that segues into another strategy that I refer to as the InstaTube method. It's creating short form content on Instagram, connecting it to a ManyChat keyword, which funnels then people into either an email opt-in or sending them through to a YouTube playlist, which has a bunch of different videos on there, right? And then obviously that funnels them into your core sales asset, keystone asset, VSL, whatever it might be. Now, variation 2 is the problem solution angle. So this ad calls out niche specific pain points and positions you as the solution. So I could say something like, if you're booking high ticket sales calls, but no one's buying because of price shock, there's a reason. Your customer journey is broken. I broke down the 3-phase filtering system on this exact video, reply with the word sales, and I'll send it over to you, XYZ. So I'm talking about niche specific pain points that only a certain demographic or a certain type of person would struggle with, right? Price shock. If someone's selling low ticket to someone, they're not going to get price shock. If someone's selling high ticket to someone, they're going to get price shock. So that immediately filters down like a certain type of person. So again, you need to think of like niche language, sort of niche, I guess, words and phrases that only certain people within your audience would recognize, because it's like niche specific kind of talk. And you need to think about problems associated with that, niche, and you could create videos based on that, right? Problem, solution, angles. So problem and your solution. Variation 3 is authority-driven social proof. So this ad leads with results, credibility, or a contrarian take. So most coaches tell you to give away value for free. I charge $97 up front. My clients close high ticket deals faster because of the IKEA effect. Click the link in the bio for the full breakdown. So again, we're not kind of directly telling them to follow us. It's like this thing with, YouTube channels back in the day. Like every single video, people be like, subscribe to my channel. And it's cool, right? Telling people to do something, it is fine, as long as it's like super low commitment. But when you can indirectly get them to follow you and not have to ask for it, that's when it's far more powerful, right? And we're kind of leading with value first. So I'm just telling them to go to this video, go to this link, comment for this value. It's all about giving. And then the law of reciprocity kicks in, or they might just be interested to keep up to date with what it is that you're doing and a bunch of other stuff, which I'm going to go through when we get to the profile optimization phase. And then they drop the follow, right? So link in bio then funnels people into my sales asset, VSL, or YouTube playlist. Again, we're always thinking about this journey in stages, right? And how to get to the next stage, but also then funneling them into the next stage, right? So we're not just like running an ad, getting them to go to a video, and that's it. Like we want to think about constantly pushing them through the doors to the next stages. Variation 4 is like a direct call to action with a hook. So this one's pretty simple. You probably see it a lot. If you want to know how to book 1 to 3 high ticket sales calls per day with only 8,000 followers, follow me. I break down the entire system in an XYZ video. And then you could be like, you could even do, comment XYZ keyword, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty simple, that sort of stuff. Now, variation 5 is an interesting one because you can, I'm here telling you the different variations, but honestly, you can just get super creative with it because some people will follow you just based on boosting your best performing posts. Like there doesn't have to be any call to action. It's just interesting content. Something that would be, building authority, maybe hinting at your expertise, but it doesn't necessarily have to have a CTA embedded within the actual creative itself. It could just be showcasing something that you're doing that maybe only your ICP would recognize or relate with, right? Usually it's something that would inherently portray expertise, authority, or experience. Now, testing and tracking. We're talking about quality over quantity here, right? Because each variation attracts a slightly different subset of your dream follower. Some respond to authority, some respond to pain, some respond to curiosity, some may even respond to entertainment. right? So it's your job to test these different angles. If you've only launched like 1 or 2 follower ads and you're wondering why the system's broken, you just simply haven't tested enough, right? Success is not determined by the quantity of followers you get, but the quality, especially when we're selling high ticket, right? Because we don't need to sell to thousands and thousands of people. We just need the right types of people to come in. And this is yet another system and process that needs to be tracked to avoid scaling or doubling down on an angle that is not attracting high value buyers. So let's talk about cold targeting and different ways you can approach that, right? Because if you're just starting out, maybe you haven't spent a considerable amount of money on your ad account, your targeting does need to be a little bit more specific. You need to give the algorithm a head start instead of using this like spray and pray broad approach method. So here are some examples of what I would personally suggest if you are starting out fresh or you don't have much data on your ad account. I refer to these as interest stacks. So it's a group of interests. For example, this one here was luxury lifestyle, I've named it. It's a group of interests that all kind of somewhat relate to each other, or you're building this demographic based on this group of interests, right? So for example, like if I was doing a property development stack interest stack, you could have like 5 to 10 different interests that are all associated with property development or property investing. So you're stacking these related interests into one kind of ad set, right? Instead of doing like 5 to 10 separate audiences within each of these ad sets. Like if you don't have huge amounts of budget, I would just suggest grouping them together. It's going to make your cost per 1,000 impressions cheaper because the audience is larger. And yeah, it's just something I would suggest if you haven't got a lot of data on the ad account. Now, the second one is a high intent lookalike audience. So for this one, if you have the data there with regards to, I would say at least 200 to 300 sales calls booked, you can plug those emails and that customer data into a spreadsheet, import it into Facebook and create a lookalike. So it's going to find individuals who share similar interest, internet search habits, similar, pixel profiles to these people that you've put in. So it's essentially going to find people similar to the people that you've had these calls with. And you only want to do this starting out for high intent CSVs. You don't want to create a lookalike audience based off of people who have visited your profile. Not yet. Now, you can also go hyper specific with an interest and then defining it further. So there's a feature within Facebook. You click this define further button here. And let's say, for example, with this one, I targeted frequent international travelers, right? People who frequently travel. And then I made it also match engaged shoppers. So people who have recently or consistently purchased from Facebook ads, right? Or Instagram ads. So they must be a frequent international traveler and frequently purchase through Instagram ads. Now, I'm not telling you to do this exact audience, but point being is you can go in and create very specific audiences. So let's say, for example, I don't know, you run a business and you help PTs or fitness or PTs or gyms scale, right? You can go into the top one on the detailed targeting section and you can look for job titles or fields of study, like, PT or whatever it might be. So you find the core interest that's going to identify that individual. And then you must also match something down here, which is like also runs a Facebook business page, right? Or is the admin of a business page, which would probably indicate they like building their own thing. They have their own Facebook page. They probably, have some kind of offer. So that's going to be a way of how you can like get a super, obviously that might not apply to you because you might not be a PT or work with PTs. But point being is you're finding a specific interest and then narrowing it down even further, right? Now, if your ad account has a bunch of data, you can obviously go a bit broader. So you can run Advantage Plus broad campaigns, which is essentially going to target people based on Facebook's recommended algorithm. And that algorithm is only going to be effective based on the data that you've previously got. So if you've booked a bunch of sales calls and you're optimizing for those types of events like schedules and stuff, Facebook's going to start to learn that this is the type of event or data point that we want to optimize the ad account for. And then when you start to do Advantage broad campaigns, it's just going to run these ads to the people that think would convert based on your historical data. Usually Advantage Plus campaigns, they lean more towards like middle of funnel and bottom of funnel audiences. So if you do have like an engaged following on Instagram, Facebook and stuff, this can also work very well. And what I would recommend if you're doing any type of broad campaign is make sure that your copy and your creative is the thing that does the targeting for you, right? Based on the messaging and the positioning. And you can even run lookalikes based off of video view engagement. So if someone, let's say for example, you're quite a consistent content creator, you're posting a bunch of content, you can go through, find the videos that, I don't know, popped off pretty well, got quite a lot of views, and you can create lookalikes based off of people that have watched 75% or 100% of that video. So they're gonna basically be highly engaged people. They probably resonate with your message, probably interested in what it is that you're talking about, and it's gonna find people similar to that, right? You can even do lookalikes based off of existing customer lists or email lists if you've got large lists, even off of scheduled page visits. But these types of audiences only work effectively when you have the volume of data, right? So lack of data equals higher CPM costs and less specificity with the targeting, because there's just not a large enough pool of people to be modeling that audience off of. So the diagnostic question for stage number 1, and the thing that I want you to ask yourself is this, right? If I ran this ad to 1,000 people, would I attract my dream follower or just anyone who's vaguely interested in what I do? If the answer is anyone, your invitation is broken, right? You need to go back and make sure your top of funnel positioning is more specific, your messaging more niche, and your CTA more intentional. So if your top of funnel is broken, stages 2 and 3 don't even matter. So you can stop right here. You don't even need to learn about stage 2 and 3, because even if you had stage 2 and 3 completely dialed in, because stage 1's broke, top of funnel, that's where everyone's coming through from, everything else is going to suffer, right? So fix the invitation first. Now, stage number 2 is your landing page, so the profile itself. I'm referring to your actual Instagram profile, not like an actual landing page. So the second stage is your landing page. Now, if you've spent money on ads, right, this is where most people drop the ball, because some people have that top of funnel dialed in. They have the messaging correct. They have the positioning, super accurate. And then the page they land on isn't built in the correct way. So all that money you've spent getting people to come to your profile, you're not even converting them into followers. So people are landing on that profile and then they leave. Why? Because the profile doesn't pass the eyeball test. Now, let me be blunt, and I want you to be as honest as you can with this, right? Are you someone, based on face value, just looking at the initial, landing page of your Instagram profile, are you someone worth following? Does your profile build or destroy authority? Within seconds, does your profile communicate what you do, who you help, and how? Does your pinned post, or do your pinned post include at least 2 of the following: credibility, proof, method, story, or achievement? Are your highlights optimized, or do they overwhelm people? Are you active on stories daily? Have you got a verified badge? Or does your content grid pass the 3-second scroll eyeball test? Now, I'm obviously going to break down what I mean by all of this, and I'm also going to give you a live example of my client, Christian. If you're interested, you can head over to my testimonials channel and have a little look at the testimonial he left me based on the short time that we've worked together. So we are in the process right now of launching the Instagram profile funnel for my client, Christian. He's starting from complete scratch, 77 followers. It'll be interesting to document this journey, maybe come back in a week or so's time to see how we got on. So he's done really well on YouTube, right? We've optimized a bunch of things with his funnel and that sort of stuff. He's had high ticket clients come through. Now it's the time to start, dedicating more time to Instagram. He's never really had an Instagram profile for acting as a client acquisition machine. He's really just solely focused on YouTube. So this will be a very interesting kind of client to start from scratch with, because usually people that I work with have, are already active on Instagram. Anyway, nonetheless, let's dive into the breakdown of how we've structured this landing page being his Instagram profile, right? So first of all, his name, his Instagram handle, gives instant expertise recognition because it mentions the word dating. He's a dating coach. He teaches guys how to cold approach and find the women that they're worthy of, right? The top one here, I help elite men get the women they want. So it's a clear value proposition, but also elite men actually filters with regards to the people that he's looking to work with. He's only looking to work with high achieving, successful men, right? People who can afford a high ticket service. So typically his audience have everything figured out other than this core area, which is women, right? So turn strangers into lovers in under 60 seconds, clear outcome of following him. So you land on your page, okay, I know what he does. He's got clear value proposition. I'm a guy, I'm unable to kind of find the woman that I actually want. I'm settling for less. And there's a clear outcome of following him, right? Or working with him. So it's like, when I land on this profile, when someone lands on this profile, they know exactly what he does, exactly who he helps. They know how he helps because he has his own unique methodology, and he's got the credibility, right? Over 200 men helped, and he has over 14K subs on YouTube. And we also have a link here to his keystone asset, which teaches them more about anti-game artistry, which is his unique methodology. Now, if we break down the highlights section, I need to get him to create the thumbnails for the client's faces, so it just looks a little bit cleaner. But anyway, there's over 15 different individual guys that he's helped here. So it's like instantly building that credibility and social proof just based on a 3-second view of this Instagram profile. They can scroll through the highlights there and see all the different people he's helped. And they're all videos with the before and after state explaining, you know, what it is that client struggled with before. So it's going to relate maybe to the pain points that the prospects are looking at, and then where they're at after with the visual proof of the client saying it themselves, right? Now, for the pinned post, we've got a couple of different things going on here. So we've got authority and undeniable evidence with a carousel here, which features around 15 different client testimonials. And every one of these posts have a keyword trigger, which connects to ManyChat and pushes people through to his keystone asset, which is the core sales page that we've created, right? And then that's the asset that books calls for his high ticket offer. We've got authority, undeniable evidence, we've got unique methodology breakdown, and then we've got connection and relatability. So this is his like origin story where he's super vulnerable, super relatable, super transparent about his journey from, you know, being addicted to porn, erectile dysfunction, all the way to being the leader of this movement, right? Super, super vulnerable, relatable, and yeah, just connecting with his audience, right? Because this is a big thing which is important as well. Everyone talks about trust, everyone talks about credibility, everyone talks about authority, but not a lot of people are talking about actual connection, right? So we also have the anti-game artistry method, which is the methodology breakdown. It's a carousel walking through what it is that he does, his unique approach to it, why it's different, why it's more superior, this, that, and the other. So all of those different elements, right? In addition to the testimonials we have here, everything here. And that is essentially the makeup of an effective landing page. Now, obviously, it helps if you have the verified tick, which we're in the process of getting. You have to apply for it and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, just a wall of content, right? We only have 32 posts, so I've got my work cut out for me with this one, and I'm actually excited to put my knowledge and experience to the test. But for those of you, like for example, the clients that I have up here, you know, it's just undeniable. 3,000 posts, 440K followers, 900K followers. My client Meg, 25K followers. Like it's a lot easier because unfortunately, people are very vanity metric focused. You know, if this person doesn't have a lot of followers, are they even worth following? So I'll give you a little bit of an insight. The approach that we're taking with Christian, it's not actually leading with the Instagram profile visit ads. We are, have I gone past it? Yeah. We're leading with direct message ads that are going to push people through to the sales doc, to the YouTube playlist and all that sort of stuff. So obviously when you see like a story ad or an ad on your feed, you don't instantly see how many followers this person has. And he is unbelievably good at content and he's unbelievably credible, but it's just on a different platform. It's on YouTube, right? So we are leading with direct message, keyword related ads that are going to push people through a ManyChat, initiate a conversation. He's going to go in and set the calls and stuff like that. So people aren't having to go over to his profile before they make a decision whether or not to follow and enter that journey. They can reply keyword based on how good the creative was, and then they're already in that journey, right? They're having that conversation with him, and they're going to get exposed to the credibility and social proof that he has without having to make that judgment themselves based on looking at this profile. So that's a little tip for you there. That's how we decided to approach this, because obviously we don't want to risk just driving people directly to a profile that has 77 followers, even though he has built the credibility. It's just a lot of people are focused on vanity metrics. So yeah, a bit of a side tangent there, but that's kind of the approach that we're taking with this. So what I want you to answer, you know, if you don't have any of these, have a little look through these, like I mentioned earlier. If the answer to any of those is no, you have some work to do, right? You have to have, it's just non-negotiable. You have to have these dialed in if you want to make the most of the followers or the traffic that is coming to your page. Because getting profile visits is just the first step in the journey. We now need to convert those followers. We now need to convert those into followers, and the only way you'll do that is by optimizing the steps listed above. So if you don't get follows, you can't nurture. And if you can't nurture, you can't convert, right? So the diagnostic question for stage 2 is this, right? Open your profile, pretend you've never seen it before, and answer the following questions and see if you can do it within 30 to 60 seconds. Who do you help? What problem do you solve? How is your method different? What is the clear next step if I want to learn more or work with you? Is it obvious that you're generating good results? Is there undeniable evidence on your feed straight away in your face? And most importantly, would you follow yourself, right? Without being biased. If the answer is no, your Instagram landing page needs to be improved. Now, getting the top of funnel dialed in is just the first piece of the puzzle, right? You now need to ensure that the page these individuals are landing on is optimized effectively. If you don't think it's worthy of a follow, your prospects won't either. It's just as simple as that. You're going to be more biased than anyone, right? So if you don't think it's worthy of a follow, a complete stranger is not. It's really as simple as that. So stage 3 is the post-follow journey, the nurture and appointment setting process. The third stage is where most people completely fall apart, right? You can have the top of funnel targeting, the positioning dialed in, your profile optimized and worthy of a follow, but it all falls to shit and is absolutely useless if you can't book calls or nurture new followers into long form content, right? And this is the other reason as well why the VSL, I actually talk about it here, right? So the VSL funnel is popular across the info space because it's easy to implement. When something is easy and fast to implement, most people would default to that option in seek of a path with as little resistance as possible. It's also easier in the sense that people are forced to your booking page, right? Your schedule page. Like I said before, a VSL path or funnel map is very linear. It's first step, second step, third step, fourth step, all laid out, very crystal clear, simple. And that's why people default to it, because it's easy to implement, fast to build, which means also that it's easy to copy and fast to replicate. And if you have a method that's easy to copy, you're not building a moat around your business. If you have a method that's very hard to replicate, very hard to copy, and it's unique to you, that's when you start creating your own category, right? And just dominating your market. So with the Instagram profile funnel, you don't have that luxury, right? If someone follows you, now what? They're not automatically going to book a call because of the stages that are being put through on a funnel. They're not automatically going to DM you. You need to manually nurture them or assign someone that can do it for you. So traditional funnels, opt-in, VSL, schedule, call. IG growth funnel is follow, nurture, conversation, call, right? There are pros and cons to both. Now the cons of the traditional funnel is it can be expensive, effort and force with regards to the sales calls that you're having, right? You're trying to pitch high ticket to complete strangers. You get leaks throughout the funnel as well because people visit the page, they might not book, people book, they might not show up, and then it's up to you to make the most out of those leads that are coming through and keep them within the journey. Prospects are stone cold, low conversion rate because you're relying on yours or your closer's sales ability, being super persuasive, experienced in sales to be able to convert strangers into high ticket clients, which is just getting harder and harder really because the market is getting more sophisticated. And it doesn't compound, right? Whereas an Instagram growth funnel, low cost, high reward. I go back and I prove this by showing you that, we have £260 spent within this time frame that I've set for the Instagram profile funnel ads that we launched for my client Meg, and we've spent £50 here, and we've scheduled 9 appointments. Now, this doesn't include the appointments that we've scheduled from the Instagram followers manually through DMs. We're booking around 10 calls per day at the moment on average. So it's when you do it correctly, it can actually be far cheaper, far more effective, far easier, just everything better than the VSL funnel, other than the ease and speed of implementation, right? So we're really just abiding by modern day high ticket buyer psychology. Like, I need to think about it as a genuine objection right now because the market is so sophisticated. This kind of funnel process or marketing strategy has been around for such a long time now. People are getting a little bit desensitized to the traditional funnels. Now, obviously, I still use traditional funnels, but we combine them with other types of processes that ultimately focus on the journey, right? Because I'm not the type of guy that focuses on what funnel should we put our clients onto or anything like that. I focus more on what journey should we build and how should we curate this journey in a way that is so compelling, so undeniably trustworthy that by the time a prospect does book a call with my client, they're already pre-sold, right? It's more of a confirmation call. They're the types of systems that I like to build, right? Now, the pros to the Instagram growth funnel is low cost, high reward. Leads don't leak or go to waste because if they follow you, they're going to be in your ecosystem, right? They're going to be watching stories, get exposed to your organic content, get exposed to your paid content. You have an intensive warm-up process from the moment they follow, conversation started, pushing through to long form, and then retarget into ads, retarget into your core sales asset, then to a call. It's the highest converting customer journey because the trust is undeniably built through that entire process if you have it built correctly. And it compounds over time because if you're running Instagram profile ads for 6 months, imagine the people that have been following you from month 1, 2, 3, and 4. You know, they've been exposed to your ideas, your worldviews, your content for such a long time now that the watch time is just being racked up. So this is where dialing in on your appointment setting process is very important. You need a system and not just a hope and pray strategy. We do this through tracking sheets, and I'm going to walk you through it with that process in a moment. But yeah, you can have your top of funnel messaging dialed in. Your Instagram profile is amazing, right? People are coming through, the right people are coming through, they're following your profile. But if you're not nurturing them effectively and scheduling appointments, what's the point of even having the Instagram profile funnel set up, right? Because obviously this is why a lot of people don't really approach this funnel on their own if they're not knowledgeable or just can't be asked with it. Because with the VSL funnel, it's like, I just launch a VSL funnel, leave it, and calls are getting booked for me automatically. I don't have to think about it. Whereas the Instagram profile is a little bit more of a manual process, right? And requires a little bit more care. So component number 1 of building this process right is weekly story appearances. And I would recommend even daily, right? So I created this system here for my client, Christian, just giving him an example of what we need to be doing on Instagram stories. And there are 3 types of story sequences that I recommend any info high ticket business owner create, right? Or use for their Instagram content strategy. You have an insight/value story sequence. Absolutely no call to action, right? You're not saying comment keyword, this, that, and the other. You're not asking for engagement. It's just value. That's 3 times per week. You can see here, value on a Tuesday, value on a Thursday, and value on a Sunday, right? You want 2 engagement style story sequences. So an engagement style story sequence isn't comment keyword. It's more like starting with a poll or maybe asking a question, or you've got the little sticker reactions that Instagram recently added where you can click the sticker. So that's like more of an engagement one. It's way lower commitment. They know they're not going to get sent some free guide or free training that you've created. And yeah, it's a bit more engaging, right? Instead of like a direct call to action. And obviously I would recommend you have a direct call to action, which is your keyword CTA, right? Now, engagement CTAs you want to run at least twice a week. Direct call to actions once or twice. Value, you can do it as many times as you want, truly. And it doesn't have to be in the typical format of slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, slide 4, slide 5. It can be you talking to camera as well. So you physically saying the story sequence, I guess, right? So your Instagram story sequences are a daily nurture mechanism. Every single day, you should be posting a story sequence or being active on stories designed to move followers closer to a buying decision. This isn't random. It's a psychological sequence. You lead with value. They feel like they got something. You follow with proof. They see it works. You shift the belief. They start thinking differently. You humanize yourself. They like you. And you give them the logical next step. They take action on a call to action, right? Now, it's very important not to overdo it because I see so many people, even people that I like to follow, right? I've had this in the past where I knew about this concept, but I never actually experienced it for myself. There was this guy that I really liked following. I loved his content. And for like 3 weeks, he was doing story sequences every single day. And I just stopped looking at his stories because I got so fatigued to the idea that I knew anytime I see that he had an active story, he was just going to be trying to sell me something. So you don't want to overdo direct call to actions or really just engagement call to actions, right? You don't want to always create this kind of image or perception that when someone sees you have a new story, they click on it, they know what to expect, right? You want to keep that different kind of curiosity element to it. And you don't want to create offer fatigue, right? You're just burning your audience because you're doing so many different offers and call to actions. So yeah, I created a whole process that pretty much guided my client Christian on what to say, how to say it, the process to take them through. And I even created, which I'm going to be making public soon, obviously not this version, but I've created a story sequencer AI, which has been trained on a 19-page document with regards to what makes an effective story sequence. And it does these 3 different types of story CTAs. So value, insight, engagement, direct. if you are interested in actually just getting a copy of this, we pretty much just plug in his origin story, his unique methodology, the way he positions himself, his clients, his ICP. And this is all part of the category code formula that I take all of my clients through when onboarding with me. We get all of these documents mapped out. We even transcribe all of his client testimonials and stuff like that. And then we plug in the Story 101 PDF to this custom GPT that I created for OpenAI. We give it a certain set of instructions and a certain role. My client just goes in, presses the button, boom, it gives him story sequences. And you can even go back to, like, for example, with Christian, it was just amazing because he's done over 900 videos on YouTube. So if we ever want a story sequence idea, we can just transcribe a YouTube video, plug it into this sequencer, and it's going to give us endless amounts of variations of what we can do. So just essentially just systemizing things with AI, but we're not losing his element of him and what makes him unique, because the sequencer is trained on his language, right? His methodology, his already pre-spoken value that he's given out to the world and to YouTube. That's the thing that a lot of people do wrong with AI, right? It's just completely replacing what makes them them, and, you know, dedicating and automating that to AI. It's doing completely the wrong thing. So component number 2 is the manual outreach or appointment setter outreach. So again, I have a full process, full guide that I've given my client. He's got access to a DM tracking sheet. So he's logging what keywords these people have come from, how many videos he's sent a day, how many conversations have started a day, how many qualified followers have come through a day, all that sort of stuff. We're tracking all of these metrics, because if you don't track any metrics, you're not going to understand how to replicate the output or result that you've generated, because you don't understand what input created the output, right? You can also use a software like Mochi or Mochi, however you pronounce that. And again, there's so many different ways you can do this, right? It honestly doesn't matter what you do. It just matters that you do it. Tracking conversations, tracking data points and all that sort of stuff. And this is the piece that most people skip because it's manual. They can't be asked, but it's actually the most powerful, because when someone follows you, obviously you or your setup will reach out to them within 24 to 48 hours, not with a pitch, but with a question. And if you have the time initially, I'd recommend leading with a personalized voice note or video introduction, just to make it a bit more personalized, right? So I'll give you an example. If someone follows you, and, you know, this is just one of the examples that I gave my client Christian. Hey name, saw you followed. Did the self-improvement content bring you here, or are you more interested in the dating stuff? So low commitment, sounds like you're genuinely curious to understand where they come from, just getting a read on your audience, that sort of stuff, right? It's not salesy, it's conversational. So you must leverage, and this is so important, and I know that not a lot of people really understand this, but with this type of funnel, if you are setting through the DMs on Instagram, you must leverage any form of engagement to open a conversation. You need to make the most of any form of engagement to open a conversation. Post likes, comments, reactions, story views, likes, comments, or reactions for stories, and then new followers. If someone messages you based on engagement that you've made, the opening of that conversation is so much more natural, right? It's not like you're just blatantly reaching out cold to them to try and sell them or start a conversation with them. Like, you've taken that form of engagement, you're making use of it and starting that conversation in a very natural way. Now, component number 3 is the feed content, like what you're actually posting on your feed, right? And I created a strategy called the Activate Engine. It's a strategic depth building loop that guides leads towards your keystone asset, fully pre-sold, by touching base on one of these 8 pillars: authority, connection, all of the 8 pillars, sorry. Authority, connection, trust, identity, vision, alignment, testimonials, and evidence. Everything that, all the psychological triggers someone would need to witness, understand, consume before making that logical high ticket investment, right? Now, while your story is a daily nurturer, your outreach is direct conversation or direct conversion, your feed content is long-term belief shifting, right? Indoctrinating them on your beliefs, ideologies, worldviews, contrary takes, opinions, all that sort of stuff. This is where the category creators operating system Activate Engine comes in. So you need to map out the core beliefs someone must adopt before they'll buy from you, okay? The common objections that arise on sales calls, the most frequently asked questions, everything they've tried before and why it's different to what you offer, everything they would need to know in order to get them pumped, excited, and sold on your unique method. And when you create these pieces of content for each of these stages, you're essentially creating pre-nurture material that is going to make sure that when people do arrive to your pitch, they're already pre-sold, they're already pre-aligned. Now, I talk about this at length in a video on my channel that I recorded called the InstaTube Strategy. There are two ways you can do this, right? There is just creating content organically and hoping that people see your content, or there's creating like 10 to 30 pieces of really solid nurture material, placing it into an awareness campaign, which gives you CPMs of around £1 to £2. So you're reaching 1,000 people within your warm audience for £1 to £2, which is super cheap. And you're indoctrinating them and putting them into video view exclusion campaigns. So 10 to 30 videos, each in their own ad sets, and you add an exclusion rule at around 50 to 75% or even 25%. So when someone watches 50% of that video, it completely excludes it from their feed. They don't ever see it again, but it gets moved on to the next one. So this is how you systematically create that journey that I was talking about earlier, where although this journey is more voluntary in the sense that someone decides to go on your profile, someone decides to follow you, someone decides to reply to a call to action, someone decides to watch your content, yeah, they make all of these decisions, but you're actually subconsciously showing them these decisions right in front of their face, right? You're pushing them through this funnel without them even realizing. And obviously, you're only going to want to speak to people that want to make these voluntary actions anyway, because that means that they're interested to work with you or problem aware, solution aware with regards to the industry or problem that you solve, right? So yes, you can go ahead and do it organically, but we all know that 10 to 20% of your audience even see your content. Just because you post a video to your 10,000 follower audience on Instagram, it doesn't mean that all 10,000 of those individuals are going to see it. So there are many times where you have so many great videos you've created, but it just gets lost in the scroll library of your feed, because it's different to YouTube, right? Where you can create a YouTube video that's still going to be getting shown consistently years and years down the line. It just doesn't work like that with Instagram. So what I usually recommend, and what I'll do if I'm working with a client who has a pre-existing sales team or a huge library of like Zoom or Fathom recordings from sales calls, I'll use an AI tool to get all of those sales calls transcribed so we can understand every objection, every single pushback, every challenge, every nuance within that process. And we map that out into a content strategy that gets shown to these individuals before and after they've scheduled a call, so that most FAQs are answered, most objections are pre-handled, and they just arrive to that call with the knowledge that they need in order to make a logical decision on investing high ticket. So that is the Activate engine, right? I have, again, done videos on this in the past, but this is the type of journey that we need to be building in order to make the most of the Instagram profile funnel. Now, component 4 is long form content redirection. So this is the final piece of redirecting followers to your long form content. The goal is to get them to spend more time with you, because Google's recent study shows that it takes 5 to 7 hours of content consumption before someone trusts you enough to buy. You're not going to get that from 30 to 60 second reels alone, right? You're not going to build that deep level of trust from 30 to 60 reels alone, second reels. So every week you can post multiple story sequences, like I mentioned earlier, that actually push people through to these videos. You can even end your reels or carousels with ManyChat keywords call to actions that push them into your long form content. Now, one thing I did with my client Christian, which you can even go back to the testimonial I mentioned earlier, within 2 days of launching this system, a complete stranger found this playlist, watched a video, booked a call, and closed for a £5,000 GBP offer. Complete stranger. And it's not only the fact that he closed, it's what he said to him on the call, which my client Christian details in the testimonial, that everything just spoke directly to him. And it just felt like this journey was for him, right? And that's just based on the messaging, the positioning, and the way we design this process. So the reason why I like nesting specific videos into playlists is because it increases the bingeability factor, which is going to help us with the 7-11-4 rule, increase in total watch time. It includes all the core challenges, bottlenecks, and pain points. So if we go here, if you're a successful man struggling with dating, please watch this video. So this actually refers to a concept my client created called the optimization trap. It's where successful men will optimize every area of their life thinking that it's going to increase their chances of dating a hotter woman or a woman that's really meant for them, physique, financial, all that stuff, which obviously is going to help, but they get so focused on optimizing that they forget to just be themselves, right? So this is like one of the core challenges. Dating apps is a core challenge. Being yourself is a core challenge, and approach anxiety is a core challenge. So we're nesting all of these videos into a YouTube playlist. And typically it's not just like someone only struggles with one of them. They typically struggle with all of them, right? So that's another element that you want. You want like relatability. So for example, me, like if obviously I specialize in scaling high ticket offers. So I wouldn't talk about scaling a low ticket offer and scaling a high ticket offer. I wouldn't talk about price shock in a low ticket offer type of YouTube playlist because they're completely unrelated pain points and issues or challenges. You want to put like a stack of 3 to 6 videos that can all relate to each other, creates that bingeability, and they're all created in VSL format. So these videos aren't your typical YouTube videos, right? They're constructed in a way where it includes the pain, the solution, methodology, an actual real live client result, and a call to action leading through to the sales asset. I do talk about more, I touch a bit more detail on that with the Institute method that I created on my channel. But yeah, it's super, super effective. I mean, we know it's effective. We launched it friggin' 2 days later. A guy came in, completely cold stranger, and ended up signing up to his program. So this drives followers and new eyeballs to long form content where they get deeper nurture, deeper belief shifting and deeper trust. Now, the diagnostic question for stage 3 is I want you to look at your follower base. How many new followers have you converted into book calls within the last 30 days? If the answer is I don't know or 0, your post-follow journey is broken, right? You're not tracking it or you're just not booking any calls whatsoever. So you need to build your nurture system because here's the truth. If you fail at even one of these 3 stages, running profile visit ads is a complete waste of money. You'll get traffic, but no conversions, right? Fix the foundation, then run ads because your top of funnel could be dialed in. You could be getting the right people to your profile, but your profile's not set up, so you don't get a follow. Your top of funnel could be correct. You get the profile follow because your profile is set up properly, but you don't get the call. So like you really need to focus on all 3 core areas of this funnel, right? Now, here's a quick summary for you guys, because I know that's a lot of information there. Here's what we just covered. The Instagram profile funnel works, but it's not automatically better than a VSL by default. Although I do prefer it, it's just a different strategy that requires 3 stages to be dialed in for it to work. So stage 1 is the invitation. Your top of funnel ad must attract the right people with clear positioning, not just generic follow me call to actions. I want you to test 3 to 5 different ad angles based on different approaches, different call to action styles, dial in your target in, use passive, active, or hybrid call to actions depending on what converts best. And if your invitation is broken, the wrong audience will arrive. Now, stage number 2 is your Instagram page, right? Your Instagram profile must pass the eyeball test. This means a credible profile picture, a bio that uses the category code formula, 3 strategically pinned posts, intentional highlights, and a feed that balances belief shifting, authority, value, and relatability. If your profile isn't worthy of a follow, you won't get one. It's as simple as that. And lastly, stage 3 is the post-follow journey. Now, you need a manual or semi-automated system that nurtures new followers into book calls. This includes story sequences, manual outreach, feed content, long-form content redirection. If you don't have this, the followers you do get will go to waste. You need to strike whilst the iron's hot. So you guys need to run the diagnostic test on all 3 stages. If you fail any of them, fix the foundation before running ads. And once you have all 3 dialed in, the Instagram profile funnel becomes one of the most efficient ways to sign high-ticket clients. Core 3 action items. Before I mention that, guys, if you do want to have a one-to-one call with me, completely free of charge, like an Instagram profile funnel audit, just go ahead. There'll be a Calendly link or something like that in the description below. You can schedule a call with me. It'll be me. It won't be some kind of setter or closer. It'll actually be me who I've set a call, and we'll do a full audit on your Instagram profile funnel strategy and tell you exactly what's missing, tell you exactly what you need to do to increase or improve your current results. Core 3 action items to wrap this video up with today, guys, is number 1, audit your invitation strategy. So look at your current ads or planned ad creatives, write out 3 to 5 different variations, value-led, problem-solution, authority-driven, direct call to action, the ones that I mentioned earlier, and test, right? Track which one gets you the highest quality followers, not just the most amount of followers. And I also want you to rebuild your profile. If your profile is not converting followers in the first place, we need to revisit that, right? So rewrite your bio using the formula that I spoke about in this video. Don't be generic, be unique. Choose or create 3 posts to pin that systematically build belief in you, your results, and your method. Be more intentional with your highlights or remove them entirely. So if you just have a complete mess of highlights, I would recommend just removing them if you don't have like a lot of results and stuff to showcase. And make sure someone can understand what you do, why you're different in at least 15 to 30 seconds of watching or looking at your profile. Now, number 3 is build your post-follow nurture system. So start posting story sequences daily. If you don't have a setter, start reaching out to new followers per day through voice notes or video. Would highly recommend it. Track how many new followers you're converting into calls each week. If it's 0 or unprofitable, an element of your system is clearly broken. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video, guys. If you want to work with me one-on-one or have that free Instagram profile audit, go ahead and schedule a call with me directly below. And if you want to connect with me on Instagram, my link to Instagram is also in the description. I'll see you on the next one.